Hi guys, really inspired to jump on and say hi. We are entering a very powerful time at the moment. Don't know if you can feel it. I know many of you can feel it. And it may just be that you're noticing a lot being highlighted in your own life or people around you, or becoming much more clear with your boundaries. But I just wanted to come on and say that I'm really feeling into it at the moment. You know, many of us who have done a lot of healing work over a very long time have, because we're here at this time, we have got a lot of healing abilities and very, very sensitive systems to energy. And many of us have been navigating our way through the last few years, and perhaps, I know for me certainly, the last probably 18 months I haven't been doing an awful lot of my energy healing work. And when I say energy healing work, I've noticed that I very often pull away from words like energy healing, Reiki, and all of those descriptions that people use for the purpose of ascension and clearing out the system from the old. I'm very skeptical, especially when I don't know people and I don't know. It's not even about knowing the background or the history, it's about just picking up on frequency at the end of the day. And I realise that I'm really, really, really sensitive to energy, but I've closed down the ability. And I've just come back from a very, very powerful drumming session with a friend of mine called Kim, who has an amazing healing centre in Radlett, which is not far from St Albans, and I highly recommend it. And we did some healing, we did a lot of drumming, and it just reminded me of, because when I start tuning into that frequency, it is so powerful. And I'm actually, I thought that was my brother. I'm actually going to be starting up a women's healing circle myself locally in St Albans, but I'm also very involved at the moment in what's happening, or what needs to happen in this town. And we all need to be very aware that we need to start really listening to what we're guided to do, to supporting other truthers in our own communities, because we need to come together in community. And I realise that anybody who is an activist and speaking out against the mainstream, and the people who don't generally do the healing work, because you'll find that a lot of the people that are not doing healing work are the people who are not awake. Because actually, and I know we all know people who do Reiki and are very spiritual people, and they went along and they believed their governments and they had the thing in their arm, and you know, I don't know how many of those people are waking up. I imagine a number of them are waking up, but none of that really matters. What I'm trying to say is that when you start attuning yourself to frequency and use sound and all frequencies in order to heal, it's very it can be very messy, it can be very scary, it can be challenging, it can be painful. And one of the reasons that I've decided I want to start up a healing circle here in St Albans is I want to use some of the skills that I have developed and used and worked with over the last 10 years or so, in terms of authentic relating and, you know, and sound healing, and something called inner dance, which I've studied, and ecstatic dance, and all of these different things. And I think it's really important that in every town, in every village, in every city, we are setting up these healing centres for people, because as more is revealed, as the politics, I've never said that word so many in one week, as the politics is becoming more important locally in our own communities, we are going to need more and more of these healing centres and more people there to support those as they wake up. Now, we've said this over the last few years. Hi, Deborah. You're another amazing woman. Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. And hi, Wendy. Deborah, your crystal work is going to be really important in the work that you do. So I'm just wondering what you're doing over there in Potter's Bar. That there is a lot of community starting to come together, and I do feel that if anyone's called to move in that direction of creating something to happen, you know, I'm somebody who's a connector, and I'm also a disruptor. I hold disruptive energy, so I will really help to change patterns, and we can do that in circle setting through healing and through authentic relating. And hi, Daniel. There are many ways that we can do this, but I do really see how this this collaboration really is going to be very necessary for the inner work and the outer work, because we don't want to go into these. I mean, some of you have seen the Stepford, what was it called? Stepford. There's a place in London anyway. I put the video a few days ago. Really great video about a whole load of community came together, and the mayor of that town was telling them that they're going to have these 15-minute cities, and the people absolutely adamantly, fiercely said no way, and explained to this mayor what it was about. And she radically did a U-turn, and she radically was just very easily brought in, because ultimately what we're all looking for is transparency and truth. And whether that comes under the label of, you know, being an activist in whichever area that you are drawn towards, whichever area that you're interested in, ultimately we need the balance of the healers and the energy workers that can be there to hold the space for people as they're going through these massive awakenings, because that's what's happening. That's what's going to happen. That's what's happening now, is people are going through massive awakenings. And if you look at what's going on, even, for example, you know, I mean, I haven't really followed this Gary Lineker case in particular, but it's all still around freedom of speech and what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say, depending on who you're working for. And we all know who the BBC work for and are funded by. And all of this is being highlighted right now. So I think, you know, wherever you live, if you're in the UK or Australia or America, wherever you are, if you're a healer and you've been doing a lot of healing work over the years and you've been doing work on yourself, I think it's really important that more and more people now start to open up healing centres, open their homes up for meditation evenings. You know, the power of group meditation is phenomenal. We can send healing out to the world. Many people have been doing that for a very long time. But actually having healing centres or meetings and gatherings where people can really come together and connect to a frequency and energy that is transformative, very deeply, quickly transformative, because we all need that, as well as the activist stuff as well. And I have said this all along, but for me it's kind of landed much more deeply in my body. And what's missing for so many is embodiment. So we can know it all up here. Hi Nancy, hi Jane. We can know it all. We can know about healing. We can know about transformation. We can know about, you know, that there's a lot of corruption going on in the world, but we really are living in to live in a corruption of our own integrity. It has to be disembodied. Like, we have to come into the body. We have to feel, and it can be very painful to feel. But if we're feeling pain and trauma from seeing what's going on out there, and we have got sensitive systems, we really must have very safe healing spaces for healing to occur, for healing to happen. And so many people are holding all this trauma from many lifetimes. So I would really recommend anybody, I'm highly recommending Kim's lovely healing centre in Radlett. She's got a wonderful pyramid. I must interview her about it. It's a wonderful, she's got a cacao ceremony on Tuesday. She does it with another friend of hers. She's got a lot going on there. And of course, where we live, it's particularly it's a particularly challenging area where I live in the UK, to break people through this kind of mindset of money and power and what the neighbours might be saying, because it's quite a middle class area that I live in, where there's a lot of money, and very often those places can be the hardest places to crack when it comes to dropping the persona, dropping the mask, and actually connecting to the true self. And so those of us that came here for this time, many of us have been through trauma and challenges in our lives, so that we could get this practice into place, that we could learn these healing modalities and go through our own inner journeys and our own inner healing, so that we are now ready for these times, because these times now are requiring us to really step up. And I've said this so many times, I've just been through an extremely challenging 3 months. My home flooded. I'm still not living at home. I'm still not living with my dog. It's not easy, but I have found a rhythm, and I've reminded myself that as much as my sacred space is hugely important to me, because I'm not able to live in my sacred space at the moment, my sacred space is very much with me, that I carry throughout the day, every day, is in my body, and my doggy Ziggy. So the only time I get to spend, oh, he's lying down, a bit annoyed me. The only time I get to spend with Ziggy now is out and about, because we have nowhere that we can be together, which is crazy, but it's the way things are at the moment. But it's another reminder that home is where the heart is, and I can't wait to get home, but it may be another 4, 5, 6 months before I'm actually able to go back home to somewhere that's going to have a lot of work done to it. I'm waiting to have all that done. But my point, the reason I'm explaining that is, you know, those of us who are on the healing path, who are doing this work, we have had a lot of disruptions to our lives in order for us to have to really sharpen our muscles of healing, of integrity, of acceptance, of learning how to live in the present moment, and becoming very sensitive to energy around you is something that you can practice. Working with your intuition is something that you can practice over and over again, so that when you start to go to healing circles or healing centers where you're doing your inner work, space is being held, whether it's through sound healing or movement or sharing circles, heart circles, however you're doing that healing, the more sensitive you become to the energy, and whoever's holding that space and holding that energy and holding that frequency for healing, it's really important that those of you able to do this are making this happen. So hiring a hall and doing a once a week, do it. Don't be frightened to do it. We need you now more than ever. We need you now more than ever before. More and more people on the truth. More and more acceptance, more and more and more, because when we give our attention to something, we're giving out. So, it's of humour and love, but a lot of people. But really, really important. So if I'm spoken to me on today, I'm looking forward to starting up women's here again in person, which I have done for now. And also I am picking up in activism, I guess, the healing, because there's a lot of work that needs doing, and it's down to be the change that we want to see.